This is me again, Haider Al-Mansury. Today, I'm going to finish talking about the exploration of teaching. That is the topic of chapter 2. In this presentation, uh, we will discuss two cases on classroom observation, and we will talk about exploring teaching through talk. And of course, we will talk about exploring teaching through a teacher journal, through keeping a teacher journal. Even though that in your textbook, the author cited 4 cases of class observation. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about only 2 of them. All right, cases of class observation. As I stated, there are the author cites 4 cases of a class observation. However, I'm going to talk about only 2 of these cases in this presentation. The other 2 are going to be homework for you. Now, just to relate to the previous presentation, which was all about the class observation, we established in that presentation that the aim of conducting classroom observation is to explore our own teaching. This is very important. To explore our own teaching, to increase our effectiveness as teachers. This is the idea. And also, you should remember that in order to carry out productive class observation, the author suggests a cycle that which consists of 4 steps. Now, case number 1 in your textbook, that is on page 24. The first case is about a teacher who has a problem with the way she gave instructions to her students. You should remember too that sometimes we conduct class observation because we are aware of a certain problem. However, it would be better if you just you conduct class observation to explore in general. Either way, class observation is very, very important to enhance your instructional behavior. Now, this teacher is aware of a certain problem, and that was the way she gave instruction to her students. Now, again, in order to analyze this example, it would be a good idea to remind you of the observation cycle. In the first step, you collect data. The second step, that you analyze the data, then you reflect on the results, and then you change your plan and implement your plan. So this is the basic cycle. These are the basic steps according to which you conduct class observation or you analyze a case that has to do with the class observation. Keep that in mind. Now we will apply these steps to case number 1. Now, number 1, in this case, the teacher collected her descriptive samples through videotaping the class, and then she made short transcriptions for her interactions with the students. The second step, she analyzed the videos and the transcriptions, and then she found out that it took 2 minutes for her to deliver the instruction to the students. This was one. Also, she noted that the students did not understand her instructions. They were confused. Now, this is what, again, that was a step 2, the result, right? Now, she reflected on the result. And when she did that, when she reflected on the result, she found out that there was no adequate time for the students to comprehend the instructions that she gave. That was one thing. Also, she noted that, and because of the students did not understand the instructions, she had to explain the instructions again to the students. And that meant she spent very considerable time on explaining the instructions as such. Also, she found out that students were talking to each other in their native language. For the fourth step, uh, in which teachers should think of different ways to change their instructional behavior. In this case, the teacher thought of different ways to give instructions. For example, she thought of different techniques to give instructions. One of these techniques was on one day she wrote the instructions on board. On the other day, she dictated the instructions to the students. On another day, she asked the students to paraphrase the instructions. Also, when she implemented these changes in her plan, she noted that there was considerable improvement in the students' comprehension for the instructions, and they started to waste less time, and they started the task right away after receiving the instructions. Also, she utilized the way she gave instructions to her students as a language learning activity, since it could since the way of giving the instructions could include negotiating the meaning, and that is very good when it comes to learning the language, using the language, and thinking in the target language. That was case 1. In case 2, that is at the bottom of page 24 and on page 25. In this case, the teacher explored her praise behavior with the preteen children. She explored the way she praised her students. Now, praising the student's behavior could be a motivating factor. It could be a powerful tool that you use inside your classroom with your students. To analyze case number 2, it is very important to apply the 4 steps of the observation cycle. So, number 1, data collection. In this case, the teacher collected her data through audiotaping her classes. That was 1. 2, she also paid attention to the way she used certain expression. She noted samples of the language she used in her interaction with her students. That was step 1. Step 2, analysis. She found out in her analysis, that she verbalized the expression very good quite often. She used this expression very good frequently. That was 1. 2, she also found out that the way with which she used this expression was ambiguous to the students, meaning since she used this expression quite often, she even quite often for those who delivered um, correct responses and for those who delivered wrong responses. See, so she never differentiated between uh, those who let's say answered correctly and between those who answered in a wrong way. Now, time for step 3, that is reflecting on her results. Um, in this step, she realized that most of her students were accepting her praise as empty gesture, not something genuine, not something real. Again, why is that? Because she praised both those who answered, responded in a correct way, and she also praised those who answered in a wrong way. In step 4, in which she changed her plan, in which she changed her praising behavior and implemented that change. What she did is that she only praised her students when they genuinely uh, deserved it. That was one, or also she praised them when she was very impressed by the work presented by her students, and also she used the stickers uh, when the work of her students was outstanding. So she did that. So again, change and implementation. She only praised her students when she was impressed, and also she used different techniques to express her praise to her students. Before we move on to the other ways with which you can explore teaching, I'd like to state final remarks on observation. Keep in mind that teachers can see their teaching in the teaching of others. This is very, very important. You can see your teaching in the teaching of others. So what does this mean? It means it could be very useful when you observe the classes of other teachers, when you attend the classes of other teachers. So this is very important, one. Two, you should keep in mind that there are different methods, various methods to collect samples of teaching. So, for example, in addition to videotaping, audio taping, noting the language you use, also you can take fast notes, also you can draw sketches, you can tally behaviors, and note short transcript like samples of interaction. One of the effective ways to explore teaching is through talk, through discussion. The question is, how can teachers explore teaching through talk? Well, mostly teachers can explore teaching through talk when they have meaningful, useful conversations. Now, of course, when you have conversations and about teaching, um, you have these conversations with experienced teachers. Um, Again, you have a discussion with someone, you have a conversation with someone, whether it's about your teaching or about the teaching of someone else. And one of these two people or more involved in the discussion, one of them would begin with an evaluative. This is very important. Evaluative opening evaluative remark. Um, It could be, let me give you an example. I think the students are talking a lot. This could be a positive evaluative remark, or something negative, like maybe the students don't have enough chances to speak. Generally, the conversations about teaching have common structure. Mostly, they consist of three steps. Hence, we have the three-step evaluative sequence of conversations, of discussions that um, take place between those who discuss teaching in general. So, three steps. The first step is evaluation. The observer, one of the people involved in the discussion, starts with a positive or negative remark. For example, one could say, I think students are talking a lot. This is a positive remark. Or maybe the students do not have enough chances to speak. This is a negative remark. Then what follows is justification, meaning there would be an explanation of why the comment was made. So again, for the people involved in the conversation, one of them starts with evaluation. After the evaluation could be positive or negative. Then one of them justifies this comment. When it comes to justifying the comment, meaning to explain why that person has stated what he has already stated. Then the conversation moved to prescription, meaning they talk about what should be done in the class to improve teaching. So this is a general common structure for most of the discussions that happen when teachers talk about their teaching or the teaching of others. And to make productive discussions about teaching, people who are involved in such discussions should establish rules about how to talk about the teaching that they observed. And to do that, they should agree on that their discussion should not be judgmental, because judgments take attention away from description. And also, their discussion should not be prescriptive. In other words, in their discussion, they should focus on what people should do in the classroom. And also, it would be better to work to talk about generating alternatives based on descriptions of teaching. It would be a good idea to talk about new possibilities to try out in the class. So the bottom line is that to have a productive discussion about teaching, your discussion should be non-prescriptive, non-judgmental, and it should focus on generating alternative approaches to teaching, and also to have more meaningful discussion about teaching. The topic could play an important role. So, for example, it would be a good idea to talk about students, student motivation, unreasonable administrative demands, and you could talk about the working conditions. One of the ways that is found effective in exploring teaching is to keep a teacher journal. This is one of the effective way with which you can explore your own teaching, is to keep a teacher journal. Of course, when you keep a teacher journal, you could include many various ideas. But the main purpose of having a teacher journal is to have a place to record your observations of what goes on in your own and in others' classrooms. Also, it could be a place to record discussions, consider teaching ideas, reflect on teaching. You could raise doubts, you could express frustrations, and also you can raise questions in your teacher journal. Also, there are extra um, things to include in your journal. For example, you could include quickly written descriptions of classroom interaction collected in their own and other teachers in your own and other teachers' classroom, as well as analyses and interpretations of these descriptions. Also, tally sheets, transcripts, sketches, and coding as a part of your description and analysis. You could, in your teacher journal, you could include photos, snapshots, and descriptions of what goes on in each photo. Also, you can include summaries and reflections and discussions with other teachers. You can include lists of alternative ways to teach aspects of a lesson, example, different ways to give instructions. Also, you can include stream of consciousness writing to let ideas flow. Again, it's something like a diary, so you write whatever comes in your mind. You could include reflections on language learning experiences. Also, you can include thoughts on beliefs about teaching and learning, your own thoughts. Also, you can include questions about teaching and learning, answers to your own questions, and of course, summaries and critiques of journal articles and books. And finally, you can include lesson plans and teaching ideas. So, see, in a teaching journal, you can include all of these or some of them. It depends on your experience and how you are working on your own development. That was the final way with which you can explore teaching. And before I conclude the presentation, please work on this task. Since we in this presentation, I analyzed two cases of class observation, and in that analysis, I followed the steps of the class observation cycle. And I want you to do the same thing. I want you to follow the steps of the class observation cycle to analyze the other cases that you can find on pages 25 and 20, 25, 26, and 27 from your textbook. So work on each case individually. Try to analyze it in the form of 4 steps in accordance with the steps of the observation cycle. Um, that's it for this presentation. I hope it was helpful. Thank you for listening, and please, if you have any questions, let me know.